Alright, as we go into Mini Moldworm Cave, we have our first lift upgrade. So remember what you were saying earlier about desert being lift blocked. We have that, but we still need a fire source in either the fire rod or the lamp before that becomes a potential play.
Looks like ScrubCasual is going straight for Eastern.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with the play here. Obviously, it's something that can be done right now, and you only have to make one trip. So, and you get the extra 3 checks out of Sahasrar's closet here.
Ice Rod Cave being real cold with only 20 rupees. Kind of like how cold it's been this week.
Yeah, question in chat, the rock by Ice Rod Cave. Yeah, that's a 50-50 bomb drop spot, just kind of like the middle rock right outside of Link's house. So, I don't think there's only a few places where you're guaranteed a bomb jump. I think it's the bonk rocks that are next to the fortune teller and next to the graveyard ledge are 100%, but most of the other spots are 50-50.
That second spot's in the Dark World, by the way.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe.
the dark world equivalent of graveyard ledge. So. Alright, we're in Eastern. The first chest here, just 20 rupees today.
There's a compass.
You know, another cool thing about this check here, now they don't have a fire source yet, but they should be able to bypass that just by good navigation of the dark rooms. But there is that room that's in the back there that's got an extra 90 rupees that could be valuable Zora money if these runners wish to farm it up.
True, that would be a good idea. I mean, anti-fairies do run amok in that room, and some means of getting rid of them would be nice, but good dodging skills, that might not be too much of an issue.
Yeah, the seed's been pretty generous so far with lots of hearts, and we're already up to 6 for ScrubCasual, and I believe that's 7 on Saiontea's side.
That's actually 7 for both. Oh, wait, now it's 7 for both! Wow, that timing! Now back to the topic of dark rooms. When you're first learning dark rooms, the first 2 in Eastern are by far the easiest to learn, because there's nothing too scary about them, just enemy placement. Not large rooms at all, not like, say, Misery Mire, Pod's Dark Maze. And the good thing with having Bombos is if that back one gets away from you, you can just light the whole room up with Bombos.
Yeah, that probably works on the mimics too, doesn't it? As long as their eyes are open, right?
Ooh. Yeah, on the Igors, yes, that would indeed be the case, I believe, and I also believe that to be a Master Sword in the big key chest.
So already some grumblings here about perhaps this could be an AGA 1 seed. Now, we did see the AGA 1 ledge earlier, and there was nothing significant, so that won't be a reason that we need to visit the old wizard. But if it just so happens that we can't find a hammer or another glove upgrade, that could come into play, but it won't be a factor until we find a lamp. ScrubCasual doing exactly what you said, casting Bombos. Now looking for the Igor. Nicely done.
You don't want me calling hammer locations, because the last race I called it was in a bad spot, as I had predicted. So, I'm going to be mum on that front for now. Meanwhile, we're about to get our first boss.
So we're at the Yamos Knights. Just set up for 3 arrows into each one. Let's humor Saiontea also using Bombo strats there to clear out those popos.
Well, Saiontea tried to do it without, but didn't work out, so he took the bailout. Meanwhile, ScrubCasual almost had the quick kill get away from him, but a nice save kept him from having to deal with an enraged Armos.
That's right. So you have to get that last arrow into that last Armos before it becomes red. Otherwise, its HP goes back to full, and you have to deal full 3 arrows. So with that, ScrubCasual takes first blood in this match. First of the 7 crystals are going to need. I guess we didn't mention the settings here. It's going to be the standard settings in that the item shuffle is standard. The world state is open. It's a defeat cannon, 7/7, and the swords are randomized. So these are kind of usually the game 1 settings, but this is of course game 3 with both runners having a win to their credit.
We got a hook shot.
Yeah, but both runners electing not to make any changes following their losses, and so we are on the kind of the normal game 1 settings. And with that hook shot, a lot of interesting things happen. You can sequence break up Death Mountain and collect everything on the east side. If we find ourselves the mitts, we could also go to Hookshot Cave. And we can stun all of our enemies, so lots of value there with that hookshot.
Hookshot's also good at taking down mini Moldorms in Mini Moldorm Cave if you so desire. So there's a magic cape in the back of Escape. There was also a key, and a second bottle was also found in Mini Moldorm Cave, which both runners now have. Along with the glove.
Interesting thing here, Saiontea went to Mini Moldorm Cave but did not go to the dam, so he is lacking that hook shot.
I was about to say he's going to head that way, but not so fast. He's fake flippering to turn the mushroom in.
Not a bad strategy. I think we probably knew that he was going to be doing a save quit out of the back of Escape, and so this gives Saiontea the option to save scum that mushroom if he so chooses.
Also, we'd like to welcome in Nordic Randomizer. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for the raid. This is Game 3 of the final third round series in the Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup 2020.
That's right. The winner of this match will move on to face Dracarys in the quarterfinal round.
So Mushroom's a heart container, and Saiontea does opt to save scum the mushroom, hit the reset button. Might go back for that later, depending on how the health situation turns out later, but jury's out on that, and we are about to get more fake flipper action this time for some more familiar checks. Island's vanilla, so probably not picking that up unless a runner needs that for a heart container for a health refill in the worst way imaginable. But nah, probably not.
The seed's already thrown a full 4 heart pieces and I think 3 heart containers at us to get us to where we are right now. It's 7, so pretty healthy start so far. We haven't even made it to Dark World, so that's not a bad place to be right this moment. Hobo's just got some bombs for us today. So Scrub's gonna back out. We're gonna see what's in the waterfall cave.
Yeah, the advantage of having Moon Pearl is that you can set up an easy water walk to get these 2 chests. Now, there is one complication with this water walk outside of getting hit. If you get a heart piece that fills a heart container, you're back in fake flipper state.
Yeah, and when you're inside that cave, I like to call that Chuck Norris mode. You're swimming through land.
That's not a name I was expecting for that, but that's pretty good. Now, ScrubCasual did step on land, which ends the fake flipper. Oh, but we're gonna need the real flippers because that's a flute on Zora Ledge.
Yeah, there's some Ancilla
and Titan's mitts on the ledge.
Well, so now we've confirmed that book was necessary, and that is going to be our Dark World access.
So chat's saying that splash deletion would actually be able to, would enable a runner to get to that location. For those not familiar, I would like an explanation of that because I'll admit I have not seen too much splash deletion in my day. Ooh, we got a big key.
Yeah, I think the general gist there is you kind of overload the screen with a bunch of sprites. So shoot a bunch of arrows into the wall and lay down a couple of bombs, and then the game just forgets to play the splash animation. It turns out the splash animation is what kicks you out of the water, and so it's an alternate way of getting fake flippers. And so you do it in certain places, and you can get your fake flippers in places that normally were not available until we discovered this.
Yeah, because this glitch was only discovered within the past couple of months, if memory serves.
Yeah, and it turns out that our classic fake flippers, we were always assuming that it was because you scroll the screen. It just so happens that you scroll the screen before the splash animation completes, and it has the same effect.
As Saiontea is the first of our 2 runners to have Dark World access, but Saiontea's not done with going through desert just yet.
Yeah, it looks like we're just going to check the right side here. Now, I think he already went to Agina's cave, so there won't be a need to go and check that afterward.
Yeah, that was just 20 rupees.
Yeah, sometimes runners will, if they know they're going to go get the ledge, they sometimes try and route it so that they take the lower right-hand exit out of this dungeon and go straight to Agina from there. But sometimes you don't know whether or not you are going to need to go to the ledge or not. So no big deal. We're just going to check these 2 chests, and we'll probably do a save and quit.
Yeah, so one of the items is on the torch. It's our 3rd bottle. The other item is on the boss. And with it being green pendant, our runners might feel inclined to go back for that. We shall see.
Well, we know where the flute is, and if we locate the mirror, then hopefully they'll be able to combo that with the Meyer play a little later on. Provided Meyer, of course, is not the 3rd pendant.
if that were the case, you want to know something disgusting that the seed could do?
There's
Hammer
a lot
on
of things.
pedestal.
Ooh.
I said I wasn't going to call out dirty hammer locations because of the last race that I called, but that's one that's worth mentioning.
Yes, Misery Mire, of course, being one of the few Dark World dungeons that does not require the hammer. Interesting thing here, Saiontea is going to be entering the Dark World from Dark Death Mountain. So we'll see if we get a map check then, or if we'll wait until we get to Village of Outcasts before we get to see that. Now, since Saiontea is up here without the mirror, he's going to have to kind of clear this in a strategic manner here. He's probably going to want to go and do Paradox Cave and go up the mountain first, do Spiral Cave, and then enter the Dark World from down below, because obviously we don't have the hammer at this point. Nothing here in the Spectacle Rock combo.
Well, we got Tempered Sword to start our lower half of Paradox Cave.
In the upper half.
And I have that kind of luck when it comes to being on mic or stream, even with push to talk sometimes. Oh, Fire Rod! Now Desert's clearable. But yeah, I have that type of luck in general when it comes to phones.
Well, you are correct that the Desert Palace is now clearable, but since we do now have access to the Dark World, probably Skull Woods is the first thing that pops to mind.
Certainly does, but if we find flippers, then, well, I wouldn't do that right away when you have so many locations where Hammer could be, but it would make Ice Palace a remote possibility. Emphasis on remote.
Now, did you catch Floating Island when we went by? Because I missed that.
Yeah, I missed it too. Wonder if chat saw it. But we do get route divergence as ScrubCasual going right into Dark World, and here's our map check. The other 5-6 crystal is Skull Woods, and I believe that's a pendant on Swamp. Yep, can confirm. Yep. Pendant on Swamp, 5-6 Skull Woods. That takes Hammer off pedestal, but puts it in a place that I don't think our runners would be very happy if I say, but I'm going to say it anyway because it warrants bringing up. That there is now a remote chance that the hammer winds up at Pyramid Fairy. Such a seed would require AGA 1 just to get that. And I'm pretty sure our runners would be rather annoyed if that happened.
Yeah, because you can't even do something. You can't even do something like a kern jump on that because you have to actually tow the bomb with you.
Super Bunny Cave gets us our first mail upgrade of the seed. Yeah, compared to having to do AGA 1 for Hammers first chest swamp would probably be better than that by a mile.
Chat saying there are ways to get the bomb across over to bypass that hammer and pyramid fairy scenario, but I'm not familiar with it, so let's not get into that right now.
Yeah, fair point, but what I do know is we have a red meringue, an ether medallion, and hookshot cave, plus powder. So now, fake mushroom is a moot point. ScrubCasual hitting a 2-pixel bomb jump to get a heart out of the big chest in Skull Woods.
And that is both items out of there, and so without the fire rod, Scrub is just going to go ahead and continue on with some of those Dark World checks. Looks like we might be looking over at Bumper Ledge. We do have the cape, so we will be able to get whatever item we see up there.
Well, we're gonna be needing that because that's the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, I love seeing those double takes where you just get it into focus and then you realize it's something important, so you have to kind of double back for it.
Runners aren't used to finding required stuff here, but it does happen. Although probably the worst thing that can trip a newer runner up is getting hook shot off this location. Like, you've got a very narrow window to walk on that ledge, and it's not easy to stay on, really, but it can be done. Otherwise, the game wouldn't put it there.
As a matter of fact, that sign that ScrubCasual just walked past actually tells you you need the cape, but not the hook shot for a little help and aid to newer runners. A nice little Easter egg the devs put in. I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but if you have paid attention, did anyone see what the stun prize was today? It happens to be that it is full magic refills on the stun prize. So if any time these runners are feeling a little low on magic, all they got to do is hit an enemy with the hook shot, and they can fill their magic right back up.
That's a good strategy, especially for Ganon's Tower, because as you get higher up, the more magic becomes needed. So we now get into Thieves' Town, a dungeon you probably don't want to go into without Hammer, because you could have something locked behind there in that big chest. But sometimes that's just a trick because the Hammer's here. I don't know. This randomizer's been doing some pretty mean things with the Hammer lately.
Yeah, I've had a Hammer in the Maiden's chest recently, so definitely kind of get burned by that sometimes. You try to check everywhere else for the Hammer, and then it turns out to be right there. We've already pulled 2 items here out, so hopefully we'll get a third, and then the big key, and maybe only have map or compass in the big chest. Well, as I say that, the map comes out.
Yeah, that's my type of luck right there. Saiontea decided to decided to not wait for the Wallmaster and take the Death Warp back to the entrance. That was a full item check. That's interesting routing, because I know a lot of runners would have just gone straight to the back and then come back to the front. Wondering if this is to just prevent even having to do that. I don't know. It's not routing I've seen before.
Well, the reason you go to the back first and then come forward is because if you don't have a key in that back chest, and or basically by checking that chest, you can guarantee that there will be a key if you fall in and prevent a soft lock, because they no longer guarantee a key in that pinball room.
Yeah, they tried that with an earlier version, but that version of the logic wasn't well suited for that, so they had to scrap it at the time.
Yeah, logic's gone through quite a few iterations over the years, but That's kind of one of the reasons the Hype Cave is called Hype Cave, because the early iteration of the logic always seemed to put really good progression items in that particular cave.
Saiontea opting to use Ether to clear the Gibdo out, which is a very good strategy in terms of saving magic.
Yep, and Ether's got the shortest animation time of all the medallions. And it insta-kills all the Gibdos, so well done.
Nice Mothula fight for Saiontea, which drops a map, but more importantly, the other half of the 5-6 crystal. That is a very good explanation of Skullwood's key logic from our restreamer today, Math Girl.
Yeah, it was actually Math Girl that taught me that little key logic sequence, and so I incorporated that into my routing. As we learned that the big chest in Thieves Town just has its own key, so we're not going to have to check that at all, so no worries there.
So you also learn that Blind is bad at nuclear physics due to a lack of fission. Although I would tend to disagree with that considering its head split off, but whatever. Either way, we're back at 2 crystals with ScrubCasual having the Thieves Town crystal, Saiontea having the Skull Woods one, both runners eastern.
Like in the use there of the cape to dodge those murder-dactyls, even with blue mail, they do way more damage than they have any business doing.
Yeah, that's one thing about Dark World enemies, is that even the basic ones that are found commonly often do 2 hearts damage. So once you hit Dark World, you really gotta be careful as ScrubCasual hits the dig game. See how many digs it takes. There's our flippers. All of a sudden, the mire area is looking really good from here.
And obviously they're keen to get back up there pretty quickly for the flute, but I wouldn't be surprised if we stopped at the arrow game for some rupees. Oh, I guess not. We're only at 300, so we haven't gotten any of those 300 drops yet. Looks like we're going to do a Froggy World Tour.
Which does make sense when you don't have the mirror.
Although this probably guarantees that we will be finding it in Hype Cave or somewhere along the way during this tour.
Well, not off Stumpy, just 20 rupees. Nice job knocking that flyer right down. The trick with hitting that with a sword is that they jump back like the Stalfos do, so they gotta be rather uncomfortably close just to get any damage in with that.
Alright, let's see how hype the Hype Cave is today. some arrows. Got some money. Piece of heart. Got a level 1 shield. Got another. Yeah, definitely a 1 out of 10 hype cave today. Alright, so we're gonna have to do the long way around and escort our little swordsmith back to his home.
Sorry, ScrubCasual, you're not hitting up Death Mountain with the blacksmith. You have to have the flute to be able to do that.
Well, I couldn't remember what would happen if he would allow you to do that and it just get overridden by the old man when he joins your party, or if you would just flat out deny. And it looks like it's the latter case, so we are going to have to take him back home first.
See what this turns out to be for today. Well, a 5 times reward, which in ScrubCasual's case, it's gonna bring him within 100 rupees of being able to check King Zora, along with getting the flute at the same time.
Yeah, but we kind of already saw what's on his mind right now, which is heading up the mountain, which can't say I disagree with the play, because he's probably thinking that there's at least a few big 20s up there, and that'll get him the rest of the way.
I mean, it does make sense, because there are... Well, he will get a 300 rupee prize in Lower Paradox Cave, plus Tempered Sword, so that'll definitely help in that regard. Powder was up there too, as well as Fire Rod, so he is going to get some rewards for this.
Chat calling for a lamp in Swamp Palace. Not sure. I'm thinking maybe more lamp in Ice Palace today. What do you think?
This feels like it would be in the map Chest of Mire for some reason. Only because of all the seeds I've played, I've had lamp show up in Mire more times than I care to admit. Because I think I'm going to have to do those darn dark rooms without the lamp, and then it shows up at the very last check, and I'm like, game you, super. And I'm making a stink face as I'm saying it.
Yeah, the game has a weird way of doing that. I've seen it in the Crystal Roll room, right before you would need it in the dark room of Turtle Rock more times than I care to admit.
I think ScrubCasual walked into the wrong portal, so that's a save and quit.
Actually, it was either that or it's thinking that to do Spike Cave with his cape, but remembering that you need the hammer in order to even get in the front door there. But no worry, we rescued the old man, so we can just restart right at him and do exactly what we intended to do anyway.
Well, that dead rock just got pegged with an arrow, so, which stuns it all the same. So now Saiontea with the flippers is going to continue on his way. Yep, doing the same Blacksmith World Tour stuff. full health in mini Moldorm portion of Paradox really makes hitting that back switch trivial when you have Master Sword or higher. The ScrubCasual now has the Fire Rock.
Alright, this will be our second chance to see if there was anything of consequence on the floating island.
Just $50. That is not worth the effort.
Definitely not. Of course, without the mirror, you can't get there anyway, so it's just good that we're not going to have to go back for it. Saiontea checking his not-so-hype cave, doing the same old save quit. Now, interestingly, both of these runners, when they got the flippers, they did suddenly get access to go and look into the Palace of Darkness and also check the pyramid and the catfish. So it is possible that our progression could be lying over there somewhere.
With Bo, we know that Pod can't be Bo locked, although that would be dirt.
And of course, we've been walking this entire seed. We have yet to see the boots, but both runners taking advantage of their hook shot to kind of find various hook shottable spots and try and speed up their journey wherever they can.
This is an optimization movement-wise that you can make for bootsless situations. And out of all the runners in both tournaments, I swear the one I've been impressed by it the most in taking advantage of this would be Rick.
Yeah, it does definitely take some getting used to in order to get used to it. And sometimes you just forget that you have it. And it's not until like halfway through the seed that you start realizing, oh yeah, I could be hookshotting all these things. So it does take a little bit of heads-up play to take full advantage. Oh,
Speaking of heads up, we got a pedestal check incoming.
Yes,
and that was Bombos at Turtle Rock, can confirm.
Yeah, with the 3 pendants being more or less pretty accessible, I mean, we're still looking for Hammer. It is possible that there could be something here, but we'll see if it survives or not. Ah, triple boom.
So safe to say, pedestal just for us. If you wanted to see a ped seed, I'm sorry, but that bombed today.
Alright, looks like Saiontea is going to go after the flute. It looks like Scrub is going to be right behind him. So we did have divergence before. Our runners are now basically going to be neck and neck. The only difference being that Saiontea having taken care of Skullwoods through its entirety. And Scrub's actually going to get there first because he already cleared out Hobo, whereas Saiontea is now checking that.
There is one question on everybody's mind. What's it, King Zora? And before anyone asks, wait, couldn't you have gone here? Wouldn't it have been faster if you had Mirror? Well, technically, yes, but without Mirror, you might as well do this now. Because right now, there's a non-zero chance that that Mirror is locked behind the flute.
Or perhaps Zora will sell us the mirror. Let's see.
Nope, King Zora is selling us overpriced arrows. Like, it would be fine if those were, say, ancient arrows in Breath of the Wild, but regular arrows in Link to the Past? I don't think so.
Well, if you're playing retro mode, you know, silver arrows are 50 rupees each, so... regardless, I think not very thrilled with that purchase today. But we'll gladly accept the flute as a consolation prize as we head over to activate it.
Yep, Saiontea will be shortly doing the same afterwards. This would be a good time to ready your goose emotes if you have any. There is a global one that I've got ready.
That's right, everyone please rise for the Hyrulean national anthem.
As Saiontea now has the flute.
Ah, so moving, so motivating. The bird is loose, the goose is loose, bird is the word.
I just had that Family Guy flashback pop into my brain. Although Surfin' Bird by the Trashmen is a fun song to listen to, if you can get through it, that is. But yes, the duck is a muck, the mallard is empowered. And yes, the classic one from Untitled Goose Game. Also a tournament going on in progress.
Oh, here's a new one. The peacock is unlocked.
That's a good one. Pretty sure NBC Universal would appreciate that one, because that's what their logo is based off of, a peacock.
And their new streaming service coming out soon. I need to get some commission money for that plug there. All right, we're off to the mire area on Saiontea's side. We're going to see if we can open things up, and then we'll check the mire shed. Didn't quite see the medallion requirement. We'll see that on the way out.
Yeah, some runners check that on the way out.
Oh, look at that.
Wow. So Hammer was behind the flute. Not the worst place I have seen Hammer in recent times, but it is certainly far from an ideal place to find it. ScrubCasual is going to have to kill the Gibdo to proceed on to Mothula. And it was Bombos to get in, so Saiontea is cranking it open.
That's right. Only 2 items to be had in here, but as we were saying before, one of them could be the lamp. We're also in search of the ice rod to finish off Turtle Rock. And of course, well, I guess we don't need the mirror. Technically, we don't have to set foot into Swamp Palace.
Don't get me wrong, mirror would be very nice to have from a routing perspective, but it isn't explicitly required as ScrubCasual has once again evened up the crystal count by picking up the crystal off of Mothula. Wonder when we're gonna see a big bomb play, because now with Saiontea having Hammer, that is much more accessible. I think ScrubCasual might be heading over to Mire, and definitely is. It's a Godmire setup with a big key there.
Yeah, just unfortunate we're not in go mode quite yet, so we are going to have to go over and take a look over on the left side.
And ScrubCasual sees the good Well, I guess we can call it... Well, I mean, it depends on your perspective. Like, if you're fine with the dark rooms, that's good news. If otherwise, you might call it okay-ish news, but for ScrubCasual, getting the hammer is good news. Divergence. ScrubCasual saying nope. Hammer was in Meyer's shed. Chest on the left.
So Scrub immediately saving and quitting out to go up the mountain. Looks like it was just for an advantageous flute position, because I think that hammer is they either thinking about. Looks like yes, Ice Palace is with the mind. The other thought was Palace of Darkness. I wonder if Scrub is sniffing out the lamp location with the way this logic has been unfolding in the seed.
That would make sense if you're looking for a lamp. Ice Palace would be a good play. It's a 3-item dungeon with a layout that if the NMG category forced you to do this the intended way, nobody would run NMG because it's awful.
Yes, I mean this was the classic kind of maze-like dungeon where you have to get all the way to the bottom, flip a crystal switch, and then have to figure out a way to maneuver your way around, and it's so awful. So that's why we came up with the Ice Palace bomb jump.
The alternative to that is using Cane of Samaria at the bottom to open the door that leads to the boss, which is one of the early ways of how I worked around that as a kid.
Yeah, that's correct. There's nothing preventing you from going and doing Misery Mire before Ice Palace and the NMG route.
Silvers!
That's definitely a welcome find here in Misery Mire, because that's going to make Vitreous about 20 times easier.
ScrubCasual hits the 2 Stalfos 1 bomb strat. That's just one of those interesting quirks where the Stalfos are both registered as down if one is registered as downed in a room, which is how that strategy is able to work. And Saiontea's going for the dark room strats.
Meanwhile, Scrub's setting up the bomb jump, and there's a question in chat. We said NMG earlier, we didn't explain that acronym. That stands for No Major Glitches, which is one of the vanilla speedrun categories that folks like to play. So obviously there's a lot of glitches in this game, and so NMG just restricts the ones that kind of break the game open and only allow the minor ones that allow for fast navigation, such as that Ice Palace bomb jump. Also there's a hammer jump, and Palace of Darkness. Fake flipping is allowed in that category, as well as a few others.
Yeah, one of my personal favorites to use is item dash / spin speed, but without boots, we're not going to see it. Unfortunately, Saiontea taking a death in the dark. And, hey, props for the effort in going through those dark rooms, or trying them, because that is not easy at all. So now he's off to find a land, which at this point could also be on Big Bomb.
Well, fortunately, with that big bomb, with the discovery of that hammer, we no longer have to worry about any scenario where AGA 1 would be required to get to it.
Yep, so Head's dead. That's the bad news. The good news is AGA 1 is dead, as in you don't have to do it.
Saiontea once again taking advantage of knowing that stun prize, having been completely drained of magic, just stuns an enemy and gets a full refill.
I know I had a seed where I took full advantage of stun prize because it was fairies. I think that was that was my fastest seed from this tournament where I did that too, which is going to be the one I hang on to from this tournament. Because who would have known that map compass shuffle was the key to me breaking 90 minutes? Hey, that's just randomizer being randomizer for you. Looks like ScrubCasual. I don't know why I tried to pluralize that. Hello, what are words? Going for iced tea. Definitely not a location you want to miss. Because when you bomb jump in Ice Pass, it is a location that can be missed rather easily.
Yeah, from the way the items are distributed, I think we found 2 of our items here in Ice Palace so far, and the third is either on Cold Stare or in the big chest, and the big key, of course, right there because of process of elimination. So Scrub's going to have to make his way back around to get to the big chest if he wants to check it.
I mean, checking it's not going to be the worst part. I mean, trying to navigate these ice rooms without boots is just, yeah, not a fan. But it can be done. Also worth noting that these pen gators are pretty tough and take 2 hits from a tempered sword to defeat, but hookshot and quake medallion are much better methods of dealing with them, or a tempered spin. Your pick.
Just 3 bombs in the big chest there, so I believe that clears out Ice Palace, and so it's a bust for any kind of progression, lamp or otherwise. An interesting routing decision here. Yeah.
I've not seen this type of pod routing too many times outside of Go mode. My theory is that Saiontea is doing this to beat the boss, then go back in to clear it out. It's an interesting play, but with the Dark Rooms approaching Helmasaur King, I believe that Saiontea should be fine with the Dark Rooms that have a torch in them, due to that Fire Rod, as speaking of Fire Rod, ScrubCasual has roasted Cold Stare.
Yeah, chat pointing out a interesting scenario here. If Helmasaur is holding our Ice Rod, well, then that's basically it. We're in Go mode. So that could be playing into Saiontea's thought process here. Is go ahead and take care of Helmasaur now, and if it's not the Ice Rod, well, then I can just go and check the rest of the items.
This room that Saiontea, being the turtle party room, has 2 torches in the middle where you can hit one with the Fire Rod and be able to see, and I believe that's what he's trying for. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, the turtles have a set pattern when you first enter the room, and so if you do the right movements, you can take care of 4, maybe even all 6 of them, but if you let it get away from you, it's definitely a better strategy. Just go ahead and see if you can get one of those torches lit to help you finish clearing it out. Alright, King Helmasaur, 17 whacks with the hammer there on the mask, and then 1 silver arrow will be all that we need here. Meanwhile, ScrubCasual is going to go and do that bomb play that we were talking about.
Or Saiontea's not even going to menu. When you get up towards Tempered Butter Sword, using silvers becomes less and less likely. When you get Butter Sword, you don't even switch, because it's just 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think that's more of a strategy if you're just on Master Sword.
Or swordless. Tina Burna on the pyramid, and ScrubCasual not making the play to pick it up. I mean, you already got the cape. You don't need that for blinds, so doesn't make sense. And there's the lamp at the Pyramid Fairy. So I guess that means we've got one question left. Where in the world's the godforsaken ice rod?
Oh, hit it, math girl.
And yes, let there be light. So now we're seeing the rest of the inside of Pod as ScrubCasual is coming in with the lamp.
Yeah, this will be an interesting display of the difference between having the lamp and not having the lamp. So you're certainly capable of navigating these dark rooms without the lamp, but having it just makes things a lot easier, a lot more streamlined, where when you don't have the lamp, you do tend to just hold your sword out and kind of shuffle along, following the sparkles until you hit walls and cue your movements based off of that. Once you have the lamp, then you can fly through this maze a lot faster. And the same will be true when we get over into Misery Mire.
Here we go into the dark basement, which is in logic due to having the fire rod.
Yeah, that was a recent version change. So in this version, the lamp could technically be down here. Obviously, we know it's in the Pyramid Fairy. Wow, between oh, there it is. There's the song.
Godforsaken ice rod.
Skipping harmless hellway because we know by logic that's a key.
Where in the world's the godforsaken ice rod? I went from catfish to graveyard to King's Tomb and bonk rocks and cleared out the left side of swamp and the back. Well, I rescued the old man and then got scammed by old King Sora. Tried to dig it up from underground, but it wasn't worth. I didn't miss old Mr. Stumpy. He just gave me a big 20. Tell me where in the world's the godforsaken ice rod? Oh, tell me where in the world. Tell me where can it be? I wanna be Trinex. I don't know where to go next. Aga, Agina, or Shahabadabadoo. Well, I'm trying now to go clear these orphan slow locations. Like the basement chest in Hera and the big chest of thieves. I wish this randomizer had a few less combinations. Tell me where in the world's the godforsaken ice rod? 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 Where in the world's the godforsaken ice rod?
There's a heart container in the dark. That dark maze can trip up even those familiar with it.
Oh man, shoutouts to Dr. Bobtastic for that wonderful entry into the randomizer specific parody songs. So, yes, indeed, we are looking for the ice rod. Where else could it be? Until we find the mirror, it's definitely not looking to be in Swamp Palace. Looks like Saiontea is heading towards the big bomb as well. Of course, we've seen that already.
He'll be pleased that the lamp's there, and then he'll probably ask the same question that I asked moments ago. Because at this point, now the question becomes, do either of our runners swing for the home run and go for Turtle Rock?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not entirely sure if there's a higher density location than inside Turtle Rock at this point. You've got 5 items all within one dungeon versus going to like the one-offs that we haven't seen yet. Those would be like the purple chest, that would be the catfish. And I don't think there's much else that's actually open at this point. I guess defeating Landmolas. Because we already saw one of the items over there.
Yeah, that would be a 2-item play.
Tower of Hera might be another play. So if we go up to Death Mountain, that that might also, play into it as well. So you've got the 5 from Turtle Rock, but you can also check 2 out of Tower of Hera before you go in there. But Saiontea's going to make the walk up here to Catfish and see if that's where our value is. And again, to mention, this is game 3 of the best of 3 series, and so the loser of this game is out of the tournament, and so that might be playing into some of these runners' thought processes here, is try and be as thorough as possible before taking a gamble, because a lot of people will consider going all the way to Turtle Rock looking for the ice rod to be quite a gamble.
It is a gamble, but sometimes that gamble's a necessary evil, as Catfish, well, has the same exact reward as its Light World brethren.
Yes, but 500 rupees cheaper. Saiontea showing off a little bit of frustration there. I think he's going to stock up on some potions before deciding to move on here.
Definitely a good call.
Looks like he's thinking ice.
Well, while it would be a nice place for an ice rod to be hanging out, we know that it's not the case today, but still not a bad check to make given the circumstance.
And Scrub finishes the dark room checks over there in Pod and has noped out. We'll see what he's thinking now. Got the flute out. Maybe this is a Meyer play.
Would make sense, because we've got silvers in the dungeon itself, and we've already checked the shed.
So as the runners retrace each other's steps here, and Ice Palace and Misery Mire. Did we see both items come out of Misery Mire? We know we see the silvers in here, but what's the second item revealed?
I'm not sure, because I did not see one of them.
Okay.
So
well,
it was silvers and a junk.
Yeah. So nothing new is going to be discovered here. So unless we get up the mountain, and I guess that means Tower of Hera and Turtle Rock are going to be the last locations that we as the viewers have not seen. Oh, and I guess Purple Chest would be the last one because we have saved the blacksmith on both sides, but neither runner has gone back to do that. Oh, hammer pegs. That's another one.
Yeah, we haven't seen hammer pegs, and while the opportunity to go to Magic Bat has now been there for some time as a result of getting the hammer, no one's gone for it yet. And I'll admit, not having mirror probably makes some of those checks seem daunting, but if the mirror is found before the ice rod, then Swamp Palace comes into play, and I don't think either runner wants to see that given the circumstances.
Yeah, this is the point where you open every chest and you're just like, not the mirror, not the mirror, not the mirror, not the mirror, not the mirror.
I just had a flashback to the 80s sitcom Dinosaurs, where the baby would constantly yell at the father, "Not the mama! Not the mama! Not the mama!" I kid you not, I had a poster of that on my wall growing up.
Yes, that is a classic. Saiontea picking up the big key. That will lead him to the third item here. As we got the cutscene down on Scrub's side. Looks like Saiontea tried for the bomb jump, just missing it there.
Was that an item in that room, or I don't remember. We'll know based off Saiontea's actions. Apparently it wasn't, because he's going right for Cold Stare. Not that he was missing anything, mind you.
Yeah, I soon remember that in addition to those 3 bombs, it was just a big 20, and I think it was the single arrow of destiny in the 3 chests here. Regardless, we're going to see a nice little cold stare fight here. We're going to use the bomb burst to crack open the shell, and then we'll use a combination of spins and fire rod shots to finish things off.
This is one fight where having half magic is nice, as well as having Butter Sword. Because Butter Sword just destroys Cold Stare ridiculously quick.
That's right. If you can get that spin and you can get him into the corner, you can slash him down before he even has a chance to escape.
There is another way to do that with Tempered, but you have to have boots, and yes, it's a strategy I have not yet learned myself. But it would be worth learning. What's this? Saiontea going back in?
Yeah, I think that Freezor chest had an item, and I think he is committing to going ahead and making sure that he has uncovered every stone here in Ice Palace.
It's understandable, because I can think of the amount of times I have seen runners of this randomizer, myself included, leave a single solitary check or location behind, and it has burned them.
So it'd be interesting at this point to mention that there is a new glitch that was discovered not even last weekend, where you can use the Cane of Samaria in the room to the right of those 6 pen gators to clip through the frozen bar, kind of similar to the one here in this room with the Stalfos, and get to the chest that normally has the big key. And it shaves about 10 seconds off of the No Major Glitches route, so That's a discussion. It's currently banned, but there's certainly a lot of discussion going around.
That is something that I will have to peruse at some other point in time, as we got a race to call, and ScrubCasual is the first of our 2 runners to reach 6 crystals by just taking Vitreous down, which with the silvers makes a very tough fight look easy.
Yeah, while I was busy talking, just blinking, you missed it. Just machine gun all those little eyes down, and two arrows to the big one, and it's done.
Yeah, the reason it takes 2 arrows is that Vitreous is the only boss with a high enough HP that can take silver damage to withstand 1 outside of Ganon.
And Saiontea getting that single arrow in that Freezor chest. I bet he is not too happy about that. ScrubCasual has returned to the village of Outcasts. I think this is probably a hammer peg combined with a purple chest pickup that we'll be seeing here. So again, neither runner quite willing to gamble on Turtle Rock at this point.
Understandably so, when you've got a number of different checks that can be made between overworld and dungeons. Saiontea is now back in Misery Mire, this time to finish off the dungeon, just has to clear out Mire 2, and then proceed en route to the boss, and then he'll also be up to 6 crystals.
Again, a real shame we don't have the boots yet, because item dashing through those pegs is so satisfying. Hey, speak of the devil.
And it shall appear. So what the boots do here, in addition to granting a much higher movement speed, is you also now have King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks have open up, and those 2 checks could potentially have what we're after. Or they don't have anything. We shall see.
Or they could have the shovel, which leads to the mirror in the, in the dig spot.
And then the mirror in the dig spot to Ice Rod on left side swamp. Yeah, that would be pretty gross. $20, no dice there. And one of the village folks decides to, falling for the false rumors and all that. But we're about to get a magic bat. Which is a bug net.
Ugh.
Well, if you want to put a fairy in a bottle, you're all set there with that. In Swordless, it's one of 2 items used to deflect Aghanim's magic attacks, the other being the hammer, which is a bit gross to think about, considering how the hitboxes work, but it does work.
Of course, nothing's keeping either of these runners from using the bug net in their Aga 2 fights. Other than their own sanity, I guess. But anyway, we're off to Bonk Rocks.
Or Swagnet strats with the item dash.
Nothing on Bonk Rocks yet.
We have not checked the front of Hyrule Castle at all.
That is a very
so
good
that
point.
is another remote possibility.
Oh,
but it doesn't matter, because we're not going to, as at 1 hour, 22 minutes, 7 seconds, the Ice Rod hunt is complete and ScrubCasual is in go mode.
looks like ScrubCasual is going to make one final pit stop over to the witch's hut to top off all the bottles. That way, because we're not going to be coming down the mountain again.
Until we have taken down Trinex and conquered Ganon's Tower.
Now, this will be interesting right here. Saiontea is about to get his boots from the hammer pegs. We'll see if this immediately cues him over to the Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb area. We could have a race on our hands.
Yeah, the way it is right now, it is still anybody's game. As if Saiontea takes this and goes, and sooner he goes to King's Tomb, the better, because that's where the ice rod is. Yeah, that is kind of disgusting, I do agree, but hey, it could have been worse.
Looks like Saiontea is going to do kind of the same thing here. We're going to turn in the purple chest, and when that reveals to be nothing, then hopefully we'll see some of those Bonk Rocks checks.
But yes, for those wondering, this was a required visit to Pound Pound Town, bootless. And yes, new memes do pop up in these tournaments, regular and Challenge Cup. And Saiontea doing a change of the mind last second. Not sure what they were thinking of there, but...
Well, I think it was more because they called the bird, but the bird doesn't take you anywhere that's kind of close to Sanctuary, or close to the Bonk Rocks as Sanctuary is to them. And he's going the correct way. He's going to King's Tomb first, and so this will be a race.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you better strap in, buckle up, because we are about to fly to the end of this seed as Saiontea hits go mode at 124.29, about 2 minutes and change later than his opponent, but that doesn't matter because this race could still come down to execution as well as left-right GT.
That's correct. I'll remind you that that ScrubCasual went over and filled his bottles at the witch's hut immediately after finding the ice rod, whereas Saiontea is now immediately climbing the mountain, so there's probably about 30 seconds right there, and left side, right side GT is the great equalizer.
It seems like a number of the randomizers that I play and commentate have their own little detail that can be referred to as the great equalizer, and that certainly would be an equalizer in this sense. I like that use of the cape there to get out of that first crystal roller room.
Yeah, both these runners probably going to feel really free about using as much magic as they need to, knowing that the stun prize will fill up their magic. Oh, got a little bit of a miscue there on the Samaria bridge.
There's worse miscues that can be had there, like if you had swung your sword while that platform's moving, and the jelly electrifies, Link takes damage and falls, which is an even larger time loss than just that little mishap there.
Yes, you start to learn to just let the jellies hit you. Forget about the sword beams. Now, I don't believe we've seen the big key yet, so a mistake that sometimes I tend to make is that go in here and you try and steal this key to save it for a little later down the road, and you forget that the big key is in this this lava chest.
Yeah, sometimes vanilla big key does get me too from time to time, but hey, the air is human, as they say, as there's the big key and it's vanilla chest.
Both runners doing an excellent job dodging these rollers here, both making use of the cape.
Very good poking room by ScrubCasual. Went back to see what was dropped, not that it was anything impertinent.
Going ahead and checking the big chest here. It's an important check to make since you did have to burn the key in the pokey room, but it could be a small key here, and indeed it is, so it's good that we went back and saw it. Got it.
Yeah, there are times where I'll do that anyway, even in a go mode TR. Took the key, so I'm +1 key, so I'm checking that chest to make a gamble to see, do I go +2? If so, then I can finish the dungeon. Not even bother with this chest, which is a fire shield, so that was a very good play to go back and check that.
Yeah, the other nice thing about the +2 keys is you can just completely disregard the laser bridge. Unfortunately, our runners are not going to have that ability this time around. They are going to have to fish around for one additional key to finish things off here. Saiontea also doing a good job of remembering to go get that big key.
One more heart container. One more big 20. And chest number 3 had the small key, but ScrubCasual is going to finish off the laser bridge and see that there's a compass there.
Yeah, at this point, might be looking around just to see if there's a little extra advantage. We can get things like half magic, butter sword. Could always be useful in this case, but he does not know how close it actually is, and so he doesn't know that he needs to try and hang on to this lead as long as possible.
And now we get ourselves Trinex. Tempered Sword really makes this fight so much easier to manage from him. Basically a resource management standpoint, because without Tempered Sword, you're basically having to improvise a way to get this boss through phase 1 with only 1 magic bar. Which is just like... which is why you want to have magic as a backup. And there's phase 2. So chat.
Oh, yep, that's right, go ahead.
It's time to play the game of guess where the big key is going to be in Ganon's Tower. 1 through 22 in chat. Sticking with 8. And the bots being a but what else is new? Because technology is like that, folks. Sometimes it decides it's going to say no.
Well, we'll just play for fun today. So you said 8. My always preferred chest check is number 2 because I love seeing Big Key and Hope Room. Although, for the sake of the excitement of this race, I kind of hope I'm wrong today. But we will queue based off of the chests that are open or the items that are seen out in the open on ScrubCasual's screen starting now. Here we go.
Starting left.
Right. So one will be this torch, which is the shovel.
Not picking that up because we do not need that today unless you want to bury the seed.
Chest 2 is a small key. Oh, chest number 3 is our big key today.
But without a mirror, ScrubCasual is going to have to clear the room, walk out, and basically retrace his steps to get back to the top, which is one of the pains of not having mirror, because at one point you actually have to go all the way. I think that point of commit no returns past the fire bar chest if you're going left. But here comes Saiontea.
And while we're on the subject of number 3, I want to give a congratulations to SC4 Ramush, who has guessed 3 right on the dot. So congratulations, you get a bunch of fake points that I'm sure Math Girl will incorporate into the bot later. Isn't that right, Math Girl? Alright, ScrubCasual making their way up the tower. It looks like that Saiontea's going to go to the right first. Finds the mirror! Ooh, and a small key. That's going to push him to the compass room. That's going to take some time.
On the plus side, all things considered, that mirror will at least make the return trip much, much easier.
Yeah, without the mirror, Saiontea was probably likely to do a full right side as opposed to just mirroring back in the middle, which will probably happen now.
Meanwhile, ScrubCasual is in the second room of Gauntlet. And there's one rupee horde we didn't see in the earlier part of the game. But there's Quake on the right side.
Yeah, so unfortunately there's nothing else that's really going to speed things up for Saiontea that's going to be unique to his routing versus ScrubCasual's. Scrub gets ready for the Landmolus 2, which we never saw Landmolus 1, so I guess this is Landmolus 1.
I mean, technically you could have, but it wouldn't have yielded anything that of importance from a progression standpoint. It could have yielded the Butter Sword, but no dice.
And there's the big key on Saiontea's side, as ScrubCasual makes the way through the most satisfying Wizrobe rooms of the game.
ScrubCasual just missed the quick kill on the room because unfortunately that spike slider sometimes commits goaltending.
Yeah, the timing is a little tight to get that on there, but it's one of those things that you want to practice to try and get as consistent as you can, because getting it right just feels so good. Alright, Saiontea making their way up the tower. ScrubCasual doing a good job not to despawn the tower. If you go up the stairs on the wrong frame, you cause some really bad things that make you force you to restart the tower.
Speaking of bad things, it would also be the same bad thing you do if you drink a potion on the wrong frame in a door transition. Yes, I almost did that once. I learned from it, and it's not happening again. And here we are for Moldorm. We never stepped foot in the Hera, so Moldorm 2 is basically the only time we get to see the one of the trolliest bosses in the game. See that pit? You get knocked down there, fight has to restart with Moldorm at full HP.
Well, Tempered Sword only requires 2 slashes, so that's not that big of a deal. And
3
we make
slashes.
our way.
Yeah, I got it. 3 slashes or 1 slash, 1 spin. It's 2 slashes if you have butter.
Not my mistake, but regardless, we're through and we're on to Aga 2. Let's play some Trigonometry Wars.
That's a double.
Yeah, nice double on the first one. It was a kind of a tough setup to get a triple. Ooh, despawns the little Aghanim's ball, so we can only make a double out of that.
But hey, double, hey, that is what we call a triple double. And I'm not speaking on basketball terms, I'm speaking on agonometry terms because all 3 cycles were 2 hits. Hence the term.
And we are off to the Ganon fight. Tempered Sword, it's going to be 12 slashes, and then 4 slashes, and 4 silver arrows. Let's see what our text is today.
Well, let's just say one thing about this part of the run. Ganon always has something interesting to say.
Why am I surrounded by incompetent fools?
Only thing missing there was him saying, I'm surrounded by idiots. Like Scar in Lion King.
Alright, Scrub's going ahead and burning a lot of the magic from the cape there. Looks like intending to... Oh, looks like we had a green potion left over, so... He's setting up here for the torch.
Yep, that he is. I do believe that green potion was from the Waterfall of Wishing Fairy. Saiontea takes down Moldorm, as Ganon is doing all sorts of weird teleportation RNG. There's the torch glitch, which isn't really as important here compared to, say, Silverless fights. Almost mandatory for Silverless Master Sword, I might add, but yeah, we don't want to talk about that. But what we do want to talk about is ScrubCasual has slain the pig. We got bacon. All that's left is what truly is the most dangerous 1x3 in all of Hyrule.
And we make it over.
It's the triple double, but ScrubCasual is through and to the Triforce room and through to the quarterfinals with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, 11 seconds. Get your GGs in chat, folks.
Yeah, so we'll see if we want to get ScrubCasual in here to do a post-racing review. Well, we'll take a look here and check out Saiontea's Ganon fight real quick. Very similar setup. You'll actually notice the patterns are going to be exactly the same for Saiontea as they were for ScrubCasual. That's developer-intended RNG control to make sure that the races are never decided by RNG, even though this is a randomizer. Oh, and we are joined by ScrubCasual now, so we will say GG's.
GG's, thank you. I didn't want to say anything because I was waiting for the race to finish.
Ah, that's fair.
All right, so what did you think of that seed?
Another Ice Rod. This seed, I don't know if anyone watched our first game. Our first match was like a 2-hour, 4-minute match because we last location to Ice Rod super late. So I was really worried that was going to happen again when Ice Rod was go mode. So I'm kind of glad I got it, what, 122? Around 122. So I was super glad with that.
Oh, no.
Ooh, Saiontea gets yeeted off the platform. Oof. Not what you want to see, because now this changes the RNG values that were discussed earlier completely.
All right, Saiontea being a trooper here, we're going to go right back into it, but back to that ice rod. Yeah, it was definitely, we identified that it was ice rod for go mode. Both of you were looking for it at the same time, and in fact, we went ahead and queued up Dr. Bob Tessick's "Where in the World is the Ice Rod" song, just for our viewers' listening pleasure.
Yeah, I was gonna. So many times I was telling myself to just dip Turtle Rock. And I'm like, you know what? It might be in there, but there are so many things I could have checked that were quick, and I'm so glad I didn't double dip it. And I actually thought, I was so confident that Saiontea would have double dipped, and I noticed that he didn't. So, like, if I had gone in and he didn't, that would have been such a. I probably would have lost this.
Yeah, that was a discussion, a point of discussion that we were having is whether or not you go after all these one-off locations, try and see if you can fish the ice rod out before going up to Turtle Rock, because it wasn't just Turtle Rock, it was also Tower of Hera that was open and available to you for checks. So good on you for sticking it out, finding those boots, and making your way over to Kingston. As Saiontea on the rematch is 3 arrows out of 4 down, and it looks like this is going to do it.
And that it does. So get your GGs in chat for Saiontea. This was a really close race all throughout.
Yeah, and it's been, I mentioned it in the SRL chat, like, all 3 of our races were pretty close. I lost the first race by 3 minutes. I won the second one by 1 minute, like, barely. And then this one was about a 3-minute difference as well. So.
Yep, and Saiontea's finish is with an official SRL time of 1:43.49.
Alright, we'll see if Saiontea wants to come in here and chat with us a little bit.
Oh, I think he actually said that he was not going to be doing an interview.
Alright, that's totally understandable. That's no big deal. But yeah, again, so you managed to pull off 2 victories in a row to set yourself into the quarterfinals. 2 very close and hard-fought victories. They were. You guys both had interesting route divergences, but they all started to come right back together. I think you swapped the Ice Palace checks with your Misery Mire checks, and then at the end of that, both of you were on the hunt for that ice rod, and I think it was just about a minute difference between the 2 of you finding the boots and then getting that ice rod out of King's Tomb. So very close all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed, like, looking back at the matches that we had done before, the last 2, we typically have very similar routing, but, like, it splits. So if I do one thing, he'll do another, and then we flip. And, like, that's happened in all 3 races. So it's not like there's ever a point where one of us really does something so obscenely different or out of logic, and I think that's why all of them were so close.
So maybe one of the things to think about as well is Saiontea went into Misery Mire early and did so without the lamp, and unfortunately wound up taking a death before getting to Vitreous, but had pulled both items out already, and so just saved that until after the lamp. So what about you? Were you fishing around for the lamp? We kind of suspected that you may have been trying to put off Misery Mire so that you could have the lamp when you get in there, not to, just trying to see if you could avoid some time loss there. Was that your mentality at that point?
100%. So I have practiced dark rooms for both Palace of Darkness and Misery Mire, and I can do it, but I didn't feel confident enough to go in there without any safeties or anything to have, like, a fairy or a potion should I need to heal in either of those 2. And I was much more worried about a death, like, especially a death in Dark Room Misery Mire. I would have already invested a lot of time into that. And even if it was after Dark Room, I'd have to do it again. In my mind, I was thinking there weren't a lot of places for Lamp to be at the point when I was looking for it, aside from essentially in Palace of Darkness or Misery Mire, outside of what Fire Rod led to. So we got Fire Rod. It didn't really lead me. It didn't give me anything from Skullwoods. And Ice Palace, I didn't really get anything from Ice Palace with Hammer either. So I figured Fire Rod led me to the second red crystal, so that likely is the next progression in logic. And that's why I went into Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, and so you did pick up that lamp before Saiontea was able to get to it, and that's a good job of reading the seed and trying to figure out exactly where it was intending you to go from A to B to C to D. So good on you for decoding that, and then of course we saw the difference that it made because your opponent also did the Palace of Darkness start, because you were kind of in right after him. You could clearly see the difference having the lamp. Even runners of you guys' level are more than capable of doing the dark rooms. It's just a matter of how quickly, and that lamp certainly speeds that up.
Yeah.
The only thing that Saiontea found that you didn't was mirror, and that was the Hope Room, so...
Yeah, I saw that. So normally...
Right had to...
Yeah, normally my vanilla Ganon Tower, if I ever go in, I'll always go right. Every single time I go right side. But actually, in this tournament, I went right side without mirror once, and I struggled to do full right side. I kept dying on the Fire Snake room, like the Fire Bar room. So going in this time, knowing I didn't have mirror to mirror out, I told myself I'm gonna go straight left, and then if I needed to, I can go back and do right after. But 9 out of 10 times, I'm gonna go right as well.
Yeah, that's respectable routing on your end. It just so happens that the mirror happened to be right there for the taking on the right side. And Saiontea was able to go right side and then immediately mirror back at the typical spot right post the vanilla compass chest. Well, so you have taken the victory here, and you have moved on, and you will be going to the quarterfinals. You'll be taking on Dracarys. So, what do you think of your opponent in the quarterfinals?
So, I don't think there's ever been a race that I've had a better time than Dracarys in. So I'm not going in too confident, but I mean, I'm still going to do my best, and there's not to say, like, there have been races where I've beaten Andy and ACMLM, like, where it's just, like, an offshoot one item that I get that they don't. So it's like, it could happen, but 2 out of 3, I'm going to have to be really lucky. That's all I'm going to say.
Any given seed can be your salvation in this tournament. So don't sell yourself short. You seem to be very good with your execution, and you know your limits. So you know that the lamp certainly speeds up, and you know how to read the seeds. So you certainly got a chance, and I wish you the best of luck as you move forward.
Thank you.
That is one thing about this randomizer that I do want to bring up, is that with how much better the runners have gotten, especially with both main and Challenge Cup tournaments going on. It is worth me mentioning that it's getting to the point where this randomizer doesn't care who you are or how good you are at the game. It's getting to the point of where just about anybody can beat anybody on any given race, and that is what makes it exciting to me.
All right. Well, any last thoughts before we sign off on the stream today?
I want to thank all of you for running this, to be honest. I mean, we get the shout-outs in chat all the time, but I have done tracking once, and it's a beast. I'm awful at commentary and the restream. Like, it's a lot of work, and I don't think people really realize the amount of work that goes into it. So I always appreciate it, the work put into restreaming.
Yes, definitely lots of shout outs to our restreamer today, which was MathGirl718, who was in there trying to get this thing up and running, fighting some computer issues. I know we got started a little late, but big shout outs to MathGirl for making it work in the background. And also shout outs to our unsung hero, that's Cool Papa Bell 2282, who did our tracking today, making sure all the buttons got checked, and so that way you guys watching in the audience could see what was going on. And thank you to my co-commentator Leslie Pro thank you for calling this race with me. It was a lot of fun.
It's always a lot of fun to do this, and it's always a pleasure to call these seeds. But the real stars of this show are our runners, Saiontea and ScrubCasual. Give them a follow, because without them agreeing to be restreamed, it'd just be a couple of guys talking about who knows what, really.
All right. With that, we will send you off. And until the next seed in the Challenge Cup, we wish you the best of luck, and may your birds fly free.
Absolutely, and one note worth making before we truly get out of here is that next race is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Quarterfinal Game 3 between He's Just a Boy and Dragon Strike 1988. Hopefully they have a better time finding the hammer than they have been in their first two races. We don't have a restream channel set for that, but what I can tell is the winner of that will move on to face... Let me pull it up on Challenge. They'll be facing you, Quiz Bowl!
Yes, indeed. I've got a vested interest in watching that race, so... All right. Well, then we will truly get you out of here. Again, congratulations to ScrubCasual. Congratulations on